Welcome to the Champion Blueprint Podcast, where mindset meets mission.
We're diving into what it really takes to lead, win, and live with purpose.
From NFL locker rooms to boardrooms, it's all about discipline, core values, and the habits that build champions.
Whether you're leveling up in business, life, or leadership, this is your playbook.
Champion your mindset.
Champion your purpose.
Let's go.
And we're back. Champion Blueprint, the podcast. George Rogers, the Gary Brackett, ladies and
Let's
gentlemen.
go.
I always wanted to have like a radio voice.
Yeah.
I know I got a radio face, but I want to have a radio voice. Like, you get those natural. We got Olivia West, the MCs for the Fever. Mm-hmm. She fills in and does great work with the Pacers as well. Up and coming keynote speaker, does incredible work. But she has like that natural voice, and I always envy those people. Like it's just how they talk, and it just sounds so eloquent and it's so deep. For the men, it's like always a deep voice. Yeah. I remember about 15, 20 years ago, there was that homeless guy in the streets, I believe, over in Ohio. Yeah. And he just had that radio voice, and everybody was stopped, not just to give him money, but they wanted him to say something. They wanted to record him saying something because he had that voice. Yeah. Like some people just have that voice. And today, we got a voice. We want y'all to be inspired by the voices of Gary Brackett. Absolutely. And I said voices, so that means you're going to give us two tones at some point to prove me right.
I got you.
But we're going to be talking about expansion without erosion. Right. And because so many times we're at this phase where the burnout word gets thrown out. A lot of people just kind of fatigue. But how do champions grow without losing themselves is really the case that we're going to talk about today.
And the reason I think we set this up, we're still in the first quarter of 2026.
Yep.
And I feel like oftentimes, I don't know about you, but I hear all the time, but just like people just, after a month already, they're already like conceding and waving the white flag. I can't wait to 2027, right? Like, no, you're lock in. Like, let's go. Like, you can still expand without eroding things that you love. So let's really lock in and figure out what we can focus on to keep us, aligned with who we want to become. Yeah,
it's not about doing more, like piling more, but it's about carrying more and without losing yourself. The whole. Not losing your identity of who you are, who you want to be, where you're going, and who you want to be when you finally get there. And so let's talk about this because we're going to give y'all some framework today. We always try to give y'all a blueprint to walk away with, and we got a blueprint for you today. We're going to give you 4 things at the end that we truly believe is going to help you thrive and really pivot, depending on where you are in this first quarter of the year as you kind of tinker in mid-February right now and you're trying to get things going, get some momentum, or keep the momentum or figure out what the heck happened to your momentum. We're going to give you some of those things to frame up because leaders coming out and their mentality is this grind culture. They got this grind mindset. And I remember it was a commit now, figure it out later. It was the fake it till you make it.
Build the plan on the way down.
It was always constant pivots. It seemed like where you had this side hustle and became side hustle overload, where you were doing all these different things, and at times you're robbing Peter to pay Paul mentality to get a lot of these things done. And everybody wants new revenue streams. Everybody wants this new up and coming product, right? And with technology the way it is, especially like if you're on TikTok right now, there are so many different stores. If you there's this, I don't know if you heard of What's Not. They're like What's Not started as like a card game, card trading type of platform. Now I got a good friend out up north in Indiana doing $100,000 plus a year. Refresh Tech company selling refurbished devices, phones and computers. And, all these different things. It's like there's so many different streams that can be created or are created. And it just comes to all this different overload. And in the meantime, all of this hustle, new things, and some of it's great, and I'm not knocking it. Yeah. The only thing I'm saying is at the cost of what?
Yes.
At the cost of family. At the cost of, at times, your identity, right? Yeah. You got so many different things going on. At the cost of, these are our values, but because it's going to drive a little bit of this, maybe we sacrifice and the value erosion takes place. Gary, For all these things, we both seen what happens when growth obstacles come up and our growth outpaces character. I'll put it that way. Growth outpaces character. Yep. Growth outpaces structure. Let's talk about how champions expand without eroding themselves just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it really goes back to really understanding who you are and how you want to accomplish it. Yeah. And, the story of the tortoise and the hare kind of comes to mind where, the hair was out running, he was sprinting past everything, and everyone thought, right, and initially that, man, it's a blowout, like he's way ahead, right? Then he's getting stopped with distraction and doing this, and the tortoise is just moving right along, right? And at the end of the race, obviously the tortoise runs it, and that's just to say that on your way and on your journey, there's going to be shiny objects that show up. Mm-hmm. And you have to be disciplined about what it is. Is this really a new opportunity that aligns with your strengths? Yeah. That's congruent with what you're already doing? Or is this something totally new that doesn't even match your personality, and you're going to have like fake or put on to be somebody that you're not in order to like accomplish this or achieve this? Yeah. So I say those are things that you recognize, and you got to stay disciplined. Like sometimes I want to do things that I see that's working, that's successful. Yeah. But then I'm just like, you know what, man? If I could just double down on my strengths and what I'm doing now, I'd be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that, and we talked about off the camera, and Cole is like, expansion is not necessarily a money problem. It's really a capacity problem. Like, how do we grow this without losing who we are? Right now, if we wanted to, we can come up with 5 things right now.
Oh, for sure.
We can create 5 opportunities that can help create revenue stream for both of us, right? We can easily do that. We'll get a whiteboard. We can draw it up right now. It's not about creating opportunities, right? It's how do we sustain this growth? We talked about it in the previous podcast with the sustaining a winning culture and sustaining the expectation of what it's like to grow. But this is more so like, how do we do this without feeling exhausted? Yeah. At the cost of our good people, where we're burning out our employees, or we're burning out our team, or for ourselves, we're burning out our family. Yeah. Right. Like for me, I never realized, it wasn't until last 2 years where I realized the more I take on, the more burden it puts on the family. Right. Like, you ain't around. Like, and TD Jakes said this a long time ago, and I'll never forget it. He says, as a man, there's so much pressure for us as a man. If we're at home, then the family ain't taking a lot of vacations. Yeah. And they're not producing. But if we're not home, the man's not the man of the house and there to help the wife or the kids. It's like you got one or two choices, and there's a thin line. Can you balance both? And I always say, listen, there's some days and some seasons where I'm home and the wife be like, that you're home too much. Yeah. No. December, January, no travel. When do you travel again? Yeah, exactly. Right. I just got back from Charlotte. She was excited, right? Yeah. And so you're like, how do you balance one thing? I always say one thing, too much of one thing is a little of another. But how do you find that balance where you're not exhausted, right? Yeah. Still creative. You're still making things happen, but you're not losing yourself in the midst of that.
It was this TikTok reel where this professor has this glass jar. Right. And then he has these rocks, and he puts this in a glass jar. And he says, is this glass jar full? And they were like, yeah, it's full. And then I think he puts like some sand in there. Yeah. And then there's a full. No, then he puts water in there. Yeah. Right. And I think for me, is thinking about my life that same way. Like, what are my big rocks that I need to prioritize, that I need to put first before I start putting other things? Because if you put the sand in first, you put the water in first, you're not going to have room for anything else. So I think it's really about prioritizing what those things are, and seasonal. Those things could change. They could adjust, but knowing what that is, and then also communicating. So for me, my kids, right, and showing up to their events and supporting them at school events, that's my number one priority. In seasons, when it's the keynote season, I'm speaking and I'm traveling and I'm doing certain things. I'm like, hey, I'm going to miss a few games this season. Like, so if there's something that's really important, like maybe I can like negotiate on my end how I could be there. But if not, I just want to make you aware of that. So I think that's how I stay from losing that, losing my character and having burnout and feel like I'm not being consistent and congruent on who I want to be.
Yeah. And there's 3 areas we're going to break down before we put out this framework. Yeah. Why this wins in 2026, why I believe this wins. And just in this discussion block real quick, Gary, because leaders, number one, are exhausted. Yes. Right. They're exhausted by the hustle culture and hustle works until it doesn't, right? Like, it's fun, but then when you realize the cost of it, it's not there. And you growing up, I remember an older gentleman and mentor, like, listen, I used to hate it. And then I start saying it and then I realize how much I hate it, is that we ain't cut from the same cloth, young man.
Yeah.
You waking up at 8, I'm waking up at 5 before the sun, and I'm getting, 2 or 3 hours, and my breakfast is already done. I'm set out, I already know the news. You're just the one waking up at 8 o'clock. You don't miss a couple of hours of the sunrise, right? And so, but there was a time where burnout was like a badge of honor. I gave it my all.
Yeah.
And it's not a badge anymore. Like people more than ever. And so you talk about this gap within the work culture, and you talk about this generational gap where, like, it's easy for me. I'm a morning. People are like, are you a morning person or a night person? I'll thrive with whatever. Like, if opportunity is there, right, and money is like the rule. Money never sleeps, so money's always going to be there, no matter what hours of the day. And so I want to be able to maximize those things. And so being a morning person is easy for me. If you say, hey, George, it's 6 o'clock, let's go 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock it is, right? And so it's like, whatever that is, if it's a 1 a.m. or midnight type, late night type deal, I've done third shifts and things of that nature. But the doing over, beyond, and more, that culture has changed. And the mindset, I should say, has changed in a lot of people. The second thing is that with AI, we talked about technology, and at some point we'll have a focus podcast on just the tech stuff, but AI plus new markets, right, equals that temptation to really chase that overload once again. And then the third thing, we can come back to this, is like the mindset of more income, less chaos is the new goal, right? How do we get more income with less chaos? How do we implement AI and technology to alleviate some of the time or make our time a little bit more flexible to be able to do some of the admin type stuff or whatever it may be that you may trust your technology for as a tool. But you talk about these opportunities and finding balance, whether it's using technology, whether it's using or gathering your people and delegating more. We've seen a lot more delegation with leaders are saying, listen, in order to keep some of our great talent, if we can't pay them like their second best thing, based on, especially Lighthouse Research, plug in our company name, but Lighthouse Research Advisor, we got researchers like growth and development is top 3 now. Like if pay is not there, we want, full transparency. If pay is not there, develop me for where I desire to go. Right. And so that growth and development is a huge opportunity now where people are delegating and teaching more versus, but I'm afraid to teach this person because they might steal my job mentality in that phase. What are some other areas that you've seen, Gary, on these 3 things, whether it's, the AI and the new tools, the new industries, the franchisees, the consultings, all these different areas and opportunities, because just because you can expand doesn't necessarily mean you're built to be able to sustain and carry all that stuff. How do you balance all these different opportunities, tools, technologies, but also be able to say, hey, this is for us. This is not for us now.
Yeah. I think one of the things Tony Robbins said was, like, as a manager, as a leader, you always got to work on the business you're in and then the business that you're going to be in.
Yeah.
And I think, as a leader, not everyone needs to be privy to some of these ideals that you're chasing down. To put a whole department on this thing to go down this direction and then not be the right one, right, it might not be the best. So for me, I think it's the crawl, walk, run approach. And, some of these new technology will work, but will they work for you? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think, like, toying with it for a little bit or getting some type of a sample size that you can see if you can provide that ROI before you can kind of go all in. But, I know some organizations, teams, they just switch out their systems. Yeah. Like I in the restaurant business, people would just switch out their POS systems in their restaurant, their point of sale systems, without speaking to any of the servers.
Yeah. So
the servers are the one that's the end product that are using this, and management is making a decision to change it where it wasn't ever broke.
Yeah.
It's like, so now you're adding up this stress and making my employees upset, solving a problem that didn't need to get solved.
Yeah.
So I think you just got to be careful about doing these things.
I literally about a month ago had this same conversation within the HR tech. They weren't happy with one vendor, and they can't get a hold of somebody. They can't get a hold. And it's like, we're just going to go somewhere else. And it's like, you realize going to that company, it's going to be the same problem, because the problem isn't necessarily the software. The problem is the user, how you're using it, and or not knowing what you have to your capabilities and maximizing those platforms. And so, change. We talked about this is our first episode of the year about the Colts and Miss Ursay not making the change that everybody wanted to see.
Right.
but she made changes that we cannot see.
Yep.
Right. And so sometimes it's not changing what can be seen. Sometimes, how do we create the right systems? How do we create the accountability to make sure those systems are being implemented? Or do we know what's actually in our hands?
Yeah. Or using what we have to the best of its capabilities.
Yeah. Now, I think the problem, though, is that people don't know what they have.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And this is, I'll tell a funny story. I didn't realize that I had everything I needed in my house. My grandma had everything that I desired in the house. I just didn't know where it was. Yeah. Right. Until she passed away, and we're cleaning, and we're getting things out, we're moving stuff, and I'm finding stuff like I could have used that. Right. Right. It reminds me of a time where I remember my grandpa on my adopted family side, not so funny side or funny story, but I remember as he passed away, I never was passionate about reading books. But he taught me and reminded me of a game that I loved and I fell in love with at Mid Davis High. Mr. Bishop, our culinary arts teacher, really the last final shake that I really needed to get myself, like, George, get yourself together or else. Yeah. Like, Mr. Bishop had that moment, and cooking at that time was therapy because I always did it with my grandma. And I thought, man, I'm gonna go to Johnson & Johnson. I'm gonna get my culinary. I'm gonna become a chef. My grandma will be happy. And he would never let me touch the kitchen until afterwards. I had to do dishes. And in front of me at the table was a chessboard. And he just wanted me to learn chess. He never spoke it, but he put that in front of me. And it wasn't until 3 or 4 weeks in, and I found, I was like, I just moved the piece. I'm trying to figure out, it's before phones. Like, you can't just Google, AI, I got meta glasses. I can be like, hey, tell me about this, right? I had to figure it out. And it wasn't until I just moved a piece and he jumped out of his desk right away and moved the opposite piece. My mindset went to what was easy that I knew from a similar board, checkers. And so I went with the easy route. I just thought it was just like checkers. Yep. And maybe he'll tell me what. I moved 3 pieces. Boom, boom, boom. He said, I won. I'm like, what are you talking about? He taught me the game of chess and taught me the difference between chess and checkers. Because he asked me right out, he was like, no, do you want to play chess or you want to play checkers? I said, checkers. He said, why? I was like, because I understand it and it's easy. And he reminded me that easy isn't always the best thing. Right. At my grandpa's house, he had checkers and chessboard, but he would always read. He's an early morning riser again, watching. He'll wake up 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And on this bookshelf, after he passed away, they found a book that was hidden with money all in it. Right. To be able to, and it was in his journal. They found it. He told them what there was, what to do with it, how to use it. But it reminds me, like, if you wanted something, what would happen if one of the kids or grandkids would pick up the book with grandpa and be like, hey, congratulations, here's what, like, we just never know what's in the house unless we're willing to move it. And I say that because sometimes as business organizations and leaders, we don't realize the people that's on our team. Yeah. That's in the house. We don't realize the system and the software we're using. It's in the house. We got to use it, figure it out, versus just making some drastic changes you said and not talking to the frontline employees on that aspect. Because everyone feels like something's missing, right? Of course. But
there's the whole 80-20.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Where you think, you're missing that 20% you're searching, but you got 80% of it. Yeah. And oftentimes there is no 100%. Yeah. Right. That's a lie, right? There's always going to be something that we have to deal with, that we have to adapt to, so we can't lose focus.
Yep. Everybody wants more income, less chaos. That's kind of the new goal. Leaders want, more freedom, more margins. They want all this, more control of their time. They don't want more meetings. They don't want, another call. They don't want more fires to be started. And so there's this focus. So I want to jump right into the framework that we talked about, the champion expansion framework. And these are going to be 4 we call them core values, 4 core values when it comes to being able to grow and sustain and be able to expand without erosion on this one. And so it requires 4 things. Those 4 things are, and I'm going to name them, then we'll go back into number 1. Number 1, identity clarity. Identify clarity. All right. Number 1, identify clarity. Number 2, strengths. Strength-based expansion. So having those, figuring those out. Number 3 is important. We talk about this a lot, but habit reinforcement. Right. Not habit replacement. Yeah. Habit reinforcement. And number 4, guardrails. Creating guardrails for growth. So number one, let's jump into this identity clarity. Before new opportunities, understanding who I am, what do I stand for, right? What am I willing to sacrifice, right? And so, from that standpoint, Gary, when it comes to identity clarity, again, creating that who you are mentality. Gary, the identity of football, to Gary, the identity of entrepreneur.
Yeah, and not only who you are, but also who do you want to be? Who do you aspire to be?
Yeah.
Because then, your growth plan should be directed on, track on who you aspire to be.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that then will make you make decisions that will keep you closer aligned to that person that you want to become.
Yeah.
And while a lot of different paths could potentially get you there, right? I think the wisest thing is to take the path of least resistance or the path that will closely align or give you the highest probability to become that person faster and better. Yeah. So I think for me, it just always, when I'm presented with information or presented with a situation, just saying like, does this align with the person that I want to become?
Yeah. And I'll say this about you, hey, everybody, Gary sometimes is too humble and everything. But no, the man, the father, husband, like this guy, entrepreneur, football player, former football champion, the Gary that I've been able to know over the last year, right, isn't always visible outside the lenses. Right. And I'll say this about you, the Gary I thought I knew or I did know on the football field about you is the same Gary that was an entrepreneur, whether it's in the restaurant industry or now in the real estate and also keynote speaking, right? Gary didn't change. Gary, the football player, didn't change to become Gary, the entrepreneur. You expanded who you already was. Right. And I think a lot of people get that mixed up. It's like, once you step away from something, we see a lot of people moving on from their jobs and they take on consultant roles or they create their own business. And it's like they're used to working 9 to 5. They're used to working 50, 60 hours a week for another company. And now they're like, who am I now? Your identity doesn't change. You just expand on who you are and the capacity that it takes to be able to lead, not just yourself, but now you're responsible for others as well. And I think that's a huge clarity input that I want to put out there is that Gary hasn't changed. Yeah. The same discipline, the same structure that you've taken on the football field is the same discipline, structure, and accountability that you use. You've expanded in the terms of industries. Yeah, now that's it. And you look at number 2 is what? Strength-based expansion. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it's just that, right? Is understanding what skills have I developed over my career doing what I was doing, and how can they best be utilized? Yep. And,
we're talking about transferable skills. We're talking about leadership.
Skills, absolutely. Right? Leadership, discipline, communication,
decision making,
vision, right? All those things, clarity, all these skills. And we would always, Coach Caldwell would always show clips. He was showing like highlight films, like Michael Jordan, right? With his fadeaway, the Earl Pearl with the finger roll, right? Yeah. Larry Bird 3-pointer. And we're like, what are you showing? He was like, what are these? What are they like? They're their signature move. So it's like, what is your signature move? Like, what are you known for? Right. And then that's the thing that you could build off of, because I remember I was in George Washington University. That's where I got my MBA. And we're at New York Stock Exchange and we're meeting with the then CEO of the stock exchange. And he was talking that he plays pickup basketball. And this was older gentleman, probably in his 50s, right? A little bit overweight, chubby. He said, now when I go practice, right, if I practice dunking the basketball or I practice all these reverse layups, my team would lose. Yeah. But if I practice a 15-foot midi, right, and you get me in that shot and that ball, it's going in 80% of the time. Yeah. So I'm going to double down on what I do well, and I'm going to leave alone dunking. I'm going to leave alone the 3-point shot for all these other dudes. I'm going to do what I do best, and it's going to help us win every single time.
Champions don't reinvent. They literally just leverage transferable skills. Those skills that Gary talked about, the communication, the discipline, the leadership, the decision making, taking those transferable skills to the next thing, because expansion works when the new talent, when the new opportunities, when the new lane, it really matches old excellence, right? Yep. Like we're going to pursue excellence in everything that we do and say by being disciplined, by being accountable, by communicating with clarity. And so that brings us to number 3, habit reinforcement, not habit replacement. Growth doesn't really require new habits.
Yeah.
Right. First, it really requires stronger fundamentals.
Yeah.
Going back to the fundamentals, for me, I know a difference in my production, right? My productivity is different when I have sleep. And I'm not just talking about sleep. I'm talking about rest.
Yeah.
Like I get 6 hours, but it's not only an hour or two of hard sleep. Like I get true rest throughout that, right? And so nowadays with technology, our phones, whether it's watches and smartwatches, you can kind of balance, what your actual sleep looks like, what was rest, what was restless, all that. But rest is huge. Training your mind, training your body, right? And the work, investing in yourself, reading books, listening to books. And I'll say this, and we both committed. Dexter, we reading a book a month together, right? And so he got a sports book that he picked up. And so not just listen to a book, I'm now getting back into like, I need to be disciplined and actually read a hard book and write in it, right? And highlight some things. And so doing those things, planning, right? And being able to have those fundamental things. And then the fourth one was boundaries. Setting up the proper boundaries to protect my sleep, protect all these things that I need to have. For me, anything on this habit reinforcement, like how do you reinforce some of these habits that you want to be able to sustain?
Yeah, I think it's discipline. I think, again, we had a coach with Ray Selesky, and he was special team coach. And when he would say it, I would hate it. But he was like, don't get bored doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And that just meant stay in your lane, do your job. If the player's over there, you got your own responsibility. And that's how he won. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, man, I want to jump over there, right? That's where the ball's at. I want to skip my guy. I want to do this. But he was so right. And that's what it's all about, not getting bored doing the right thing. Oftentimes, people like say they're on a diet and they've been eating good. And then on Friday, they want a cheat meal. That ends up being a cheat day. That actually then wonder why they can't gain weight, because it's not a weekly caloric deficit that you need. Yeah. I mean, a daily caloric deficit. You need a weekly caloric deficit. Yeah. So if Friday you had 5,000 calories, even if you have 1,500 throughout the week, you're still at a surplus at the end of the week. So I think it's really that discipline, not getting bored doing the right thing. Yeah, you could have a cheat meal or something that's good, not eating the whole thing or something, right? Yeah. But I think ultimately is not getting bored, doing those mundane things over and over again, and that's how you really lead to success.
Yeah. It was said if your habits can't support your next level, your life will break underneath it. Right? And so you got to have that foundation and be stubborn about the goals and flexible about the message. Like you got to be, that foundation has to be the foundation. Number 4, guardrails for growth. Right? Guardrails for growth. I believe champions set these guardrails, right? Time limits. Right. We talk about priority and time management. How do you prioritize your time? How are you prioritizing these time limits, right? X amount of times. I said it last year, Gary, my phone screen time was 14 plus hours a day. Right. My goal this year is under 10, right? This last week, I've been like 8. Over the weekend, I believe Saturday or so, I was like 5, 6 hours. That's awesome. It was just like, I just made it a purpose. Now, I made a lot of people mad because I responded to text messages, but listen, I only get so many times. Yeah, dude, right? Check and social media, I can't check all of it. I'm LinkedIn and whatever it is, I'm going to check my 1 or 2, but I'm stubborn about it to the point where I may not seem as my time is not as open. Exactly. But my mental peace, my distractions are less, right? And so that's important to me. Champions set guardrails, right, around family, right? And so family protections. How do I protect my family? How to protect my child and my relationships? Health, non-negotiables. Yeah. Right? Been disciplined out those things. Dexter is wanting to get his cardio up. In basketball season, you want to be more flexible. And I say, hey, number one thing that you got to stop, if you stop drinking sodas for 3 months, what all that sugar, right, does. No question. Just from the weight, right? Just those things. And then having exit plans towards things that you have to have. And so some of the guardrails that I think about, and Gary, I'm going to switch over to you. If success costs you everything, to me, it's not success. All right. How do you protect the things that you need to protect, whether it's your time, whether it's your family, whether it's your health, and some of those exit plans that you need to have. How do you find that balance?
Yeah, I think to that quote, there's a Bible verse that says, if a man loses everything and loses his soul, right? Yep. So I think it's a man gains the world and
gains the world and lose your soul.
Yeah. So
I was about to say, what Bible is that? Because I actually like that. What is a profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul?
Yeah.
Former pastor.
I'm about to say, what chapter and verse?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I come back to you. I promise you something.
No, but I really think when I was younger, it's like you wanted it all.
Yep.
And you probably should, right? But as you get older, you still want it all, right? But there's guardrails. So for me, what I realized was that mentality of more and more and more, I would have never been satisfied. So now I saw a quote, and this is what I live by to set my boundaries, is I seek my happiness by limiting my desires rather than satisfying them.
Say that again.
I seek my happiness by limiting my desires rather than satisfying them. And for me, it's all about gratitude of what I already have.
Yep.
And appreciation to the work that I've already done.
Yep.
And it's not trying to do all these new things or fancy things, right? It's like, because when I was buying the houses and buying the, like, I wanted a bigger house. I wanted more cars. I wanted a house in this location. And it's never going to be enough. Like that thirst is unquenchable. So for me, just like, what if I was just grateful for the house that I had, for the friendships I've had, for the skills that I have? And why don't I hone in those and just really be great at these things? And it's okay, the whole thing, you could be anything you want in this world is absolutely true. But at what cost?
Yeah.
And for me, I realized that cost. I paid the price of those costs. So now it's like, no, I have a solid plan of what I want to accomplish, and I'm well on my way. And it gives me joy, happiness, fulfillment.
Yeah.
And it keeps me away from burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. And I think about a lot of athletes, and like even using Gary trained, right, to carry more from the football field. And at times in the business, in the workplace, we don't train to carry more weight. We just put more responsibility, more expectations without training people and developing people. And if you're going to carry more weight, if you're going to carry a burden of being a leader, if you're an emerging leader and you want to have that title, don't chase title, train for what that title is going to be able to present so you can sustain those things in the end. Some practical takeaways. We're going to end it and wrap it up with this, Gary.
Yep.
Just some practical takeaways. So how should leaders think about expansions in 2026? And from the champion expansion filter, right? We're going to put this filter on here from these core values that we just gave you the framework there. The champion expansion filter. Before you say yes, right? So before you say yes, you should do X, right? And so, number one, before you say yes, I believe the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, because we talked about identity.
Yep.
And so the first thing that I'm going to say is, before you say yes, does this align with who you are?
Yeah.
Right? Who you are. Who am I? Does this align with, Gary wants me to do this. Does this align with who I am? Before you say yes. Gary, before they say yes.
I remember growing up in the league, they would have these parties and then like, you want to put your face on a flyer. I'm like, I don't want my face on no flyer. That's not who I am, bro.
Yep.
I'm not saying I don't go, right?
Yep.
I go, but
I ain't the face.
Yeah, I'm the face.
I'm in the corner where you can't see me.
I'm to say hi and bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
all right, number 2. Before you say yes, does this build leverage or just workload? Leverage versus workload.
Leverage, I think you talked about those strengths and those skills that you already have, right?
Yep.
Because it's leverage because you've done it so many times before. Like I've wrote so many business plans, marketing plans, structures. I can leverage that and have a conversation, expand that.
Yep.
Now, if you tell me to build a pro forma with numbers, that's not my, I can do it, right? But that's definitely workload.
Yep.
I'm going to have to really sit down and study this thing. So I think really playing to your strengths is key.
Before you say yes, what does it cost me in terms of my time, energy, and relationships?
That's a good one.
Yeah. What is it going to cost me? Because saying yes to something is saying no to another, right? Oof. What is it going to cost you before you say yes? Number 4, Before you say yes, can my current habits sustain this?
Yes.
Can your current habits sustain this? And we're talking about habits in the room and out the room, on the court, off the court, right? What are those habits that you have? Can your current habits and structure sustain? And the last one, before you say yes, what breaks first if I'm wrong? We never talk about the cost of losing someone.
Yeah.
Or the cost of losing something. But again, too much of one thing is a little of another. And is that sacrifice sustainable?
Yeah, it's crazy, being in school and a young entrepreneur, when I did do a pro forma, and this is why I hired professionals, but the graph and the line was always green. It was always up.
Yeah.
Right? You think, what do you mean it could go down? Right?
Yeah.
You didn't realize that was like an actual thing. No, it could go down farther than it could go up.
Yeah.
And now realizing that decisions the same way. Like you could really lose some things if you're not careful.
Yeah.
If you make some wrong decisions, if you go down some wrong path. So I think it's very prudent of you to make those decisions. I love it. My one of my good friends, Drew Myroff, he's a partner at Ice Miller. One of the lines that he kind of shared with me that I never forget is like when he's talking to his kids, he says he reminds them that some mistakes they don't get to make twice. Some mistakes you don't get to make twice.
Yeah.
And that really just puts so much gravity and magnitude on your decision making.
Yeah. That's good.
How important, how critical every decision is that you make to become the person, the champion that you're meant to be.
That's good. That's good. I love that. I'm still stuck because at first I thought, what is the profit of man to gain the whole world, but lose his soul? It's a Proverbs. It's actually a parable about wealth and greed, right? And so that'd be Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Luke 9:25, I believe is what it was.
Okay.
Pastor and me had to come out.
I like it.
But listen, we're excited about expansion. I know as people are pivoting week 6, 7, I'm not off the top of my head, but right here in February, we're talking about how do you pivot. We talked a little bit about that 2 weeks ago on our podcast about how you kind of assess where you are after the first month and where you want to be. We're kind of in that middle of the first quarter. And listen, as we continue to grow, we want you to grow. We want your business to grow. We're just saying grow with some structure so that you and your people and or your family or your time and your energy, your habits don't get burned out, because burnout isn't a badge that everybody needs to wear. Nobody should wear that badge in a private sense. Make sure you're taking care of yourself in all phases, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, and then vocationally. Like take care of yourself in the workplace as well. Gary, any last words you want to drop off on this lovely episode?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know we talked a lot about obviously the negative side of how the burnout of things, but in regards to expansion, if it is one aligned with the person you are, if it does build along with the strengths you currently have, right? If it is something that your habits are consistent with and you can maintain those boundaries, go for it.
Go for it.
Right? And I can remember like when I was in the NFL, they had the dietitian, they had like a green, red, yellow. And it was green, you can have as much as is possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And if you look at the opportunity, if you mark your board, right, opportunity cost or decision tree, if it's green, red, yellow, green as much as possible, yellow, proceed with caution, red, right, do not enter, stay away, right, you'll be good to go.
Yep, finding that balance. And I think the most important thing, Gary, in all of this is that when it comes to change, having somebody you can trust and confide in to hold you accountable and can look at, the picture with the full picture versus that one that's actually designing and planning and making these decisions. Sometimes you got to step away from the framework and be able to look at it with a full view of those things. And I'm excited about your growth. I'm excited about how you may pivot. I'm excited about the expansion that you may have, but expansion without erosion. We want you to be able to grow without destroying what you've already built and created. It's not about reinventing yourself. It's about expanding who you already are and who you want to be within your work. Once again, George Rogers, Gary Brackett. As you champion your mindset, make sure you champion your purpose. Let's go.
Let's go.